Let me paint a picture for you. A man gets home from work on a Wednesday night. He's tired, but he opens the dating app anyway because that's what you do when you're trying. He crafts a message that's specific enough to show he actually read her profile. Casual enough not to come across desperate. Hits send, and then he waits. She replies 2 days later. They talk for a week. He asks her out. He books a restaurant, gets a fresh outfit, drives 40 minutes, pays for dinner and drinks, has a genuinely fine evening, and then never hears from her again. He does that 9 more times over 3 months. And one evening he sits down, opens his banking app for something unrelated, and the number staring back at him stops him cold. He didn't lose a relationship. He lost rent money trying to find one. That is the conversation we are having today. And I want to be very clear about something before we get into it. This video is not a space for male versus female. It's not a rant or a blame game, and it definitely is not coming from a place of bitterness, but from a place of radical honesty about a system that has quietly stopped making financial sense for a significant number of men. And almost nobody with a female perspective is willing to say that out loud. I am. Because the men stepping back from dating right now are not lazy. They are not anti-love. A lot of them are just doing math that nobody taught them to question. And today, we are going to look at every part of that math together. The costs, the cultural expectations, the broken system underneath it all, and what actually makes sense going forward. If this is your first time here, welcome. This channel is where you get the female perspective that actually respects your intelligence. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And before we dive in, drop a comment and tell me where in the world you're watching from. Let's get into it. 1. The actual cost. Nobody talks about out loud. Now let's put actual numbers on this, because I think when you see it written out plainly, it hits differently than when it's just a vague feeling of things being expensive. A man who is actively dating, genuinely trying, going on 1 or 2 dates a week with different women to figure out if any of them could be something real, is looking at a monthly expenditure that most people never sit down and calculate honestly. Start with the apps. A premium subscription on Hinge, Tinder, or Bumble runs anywhere between $30 and $40 a month at the basic tier. That's just to be visible. That's before a single conversation has happened. Then the boosts, the super likes, the priority placement features that the apps are specifically designed to make you feel like you need in order to compete. Those add another $20 to $50 on top, depending on how often you use them. So, before you've even matched with anyone, you're already $60 to $90 deep just for access to the process. Then the date arrives. Dinner at a mid-range restaurant in most cities, not anywhere fancy, just somewhere that doesn't feel like a lack of effort, is going to run between $60 and $100 once you add drinks. Add rideshare or parking, and you're looking at another $15 to $20. A lot of men also quietly factor in the outfit, the haircut, the small things that go into showing up as the best version of yourself for someone you genuinely want to impress. Spread that across the month, and you're conservatively looking at $400 to $600 monthly just to participate in the dating process at a reasonable level of effort. 3 months of that is anywhere between $1,200 and $1,800, spent on dates, apps, and appearances, with zero guarantee of anything developing into something real. In the same 3 months, his rent probably went up. His groceries cost more than they did last year. His car insurance renewed at a higher rate. And yet the cultural expectation that he keeps spending, keep initiating, keep showing up financially for women he has known for 3 days, that expectation hasn't budged even slightly. That's not a personal failure. That's a structural problem that nobody is naming clearly enough, and it deserves to be named. 2. The expectation stayed. The economy didn't. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from being held to a standard that was built for a completely different era. And that is exactly what is happening to men in dating right now. The expectation that a man should be financially ready before he pursues serious commitment, that he should pay on dates, plan the outings, invest the resources. That expectation was designed for an economy where a man in his early 20s could realistically afford to do all of those things. That economy no longer exists. But nobody updated the rulebook. The cost of living in most developed countries increased by over 20% between 2020 and 2024 alone. Rent, food, transportation, the basic cost of simply existing went up at a pace that wages did not come close to matching. A man in his late 20s today who is renting, building a career, managing student debt, and trying to establish some kind of financial foundation is carrying a load that simply did not exist at this scale a generation ago. His father could afford to date seriously at 23. The average age of marriage for men today is 30. That 7-year gap is not a generation of men refusing commitment. That is a generation of men taking 7 extra years just to reach the financial floor that commitment requires. And dating sits on top of all of that. Not beside it, not underneath it, on top of it. Every subscription fee, every dinner, every second round of drinks he didn't need but ordered because he wanted to seem generous, it all lands on a balance sheet that was already stretched before he opened the app. He is being asked to perform financial confidence that the economy has made genuinely difficult to possess at the stage of life when dating is most expected of him. What makes this particularly difficult to talk about is that the expectation isn't malicious. Most women aren't sitting across the table from a man and consciously thinking about what he's spending. The expectation is just there, embedded in the culture, inherited from a time when it made more sense than it does now. But inherited expectations don't become fair just because they've been around long enough to feel normal. At some point, the honest question has to be asked: is what we expect of men in dating actually matched by what the current economy allows? And the answer, for a significant number of men right now, is quietly but clearly no. Now, I want to tell you about what the dating app industry is actually selling you. The dating app industry generated over $3 billion in global revenue in 2022 alone. Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, Match. Between them, they are running one of the most profitable subscription businesses in the world. And the majority of that money came from men. Premium subscriptions, boosts, super likes, priority placement, features specifically engineered to make a man feel like his lack of matches is a visibility problem that can be solved with another purchase. It cannot. But the business model depends on him believing that it can. Think about what that actually means for a second. The people with the least success in the system are paying the most to stay in it. Men on dating apps match at significantly lower rates than women. They initiate the vast majority of conversations. They convert those conversations to dates at a lower rate. They spend more money doing all of it. And the app profits most from the man who keeps trying, keeps boosting, keeps upgrading his subscription in the hope that this time the algorithm will finally show him to someone who responds. The entire revenue model is built on his persistence in a process that statistically keeps under-delivering for him. A 2023 Pew Research study found that 63% of men under 30 are currently single compared to 34% of women in the same age group. Nearly 2/3 of young men are unpartnered. And the industry built around supposedly solving that problem has never been more financially successful. That is not a coincidence. That is a business model. One that is specifically designed to keep men in the funnel long enough to keep paying, not necessarily to get them out of it successfully. None of this means that genuine connections don't happen through apps. They do. But it does mean that the system is not neutrally designed to help you find a partner. It is designed to monetize your search for one. And understanding that distinction changes how you approach the whole thing. You are not a user of a service that wants you to succeed. You are a revenue source for a platform that profits most when your success takes as long as possible to arrive. Walk into it with that level of clarity and spend accordingly. 4. how both sides got trapped in the same cycle. This is the part of the conversation that almost never gets had honestly, because it requires both sides to stop pointing at each other long enough to look at what is actually happening between them. And what is actually happening is that men and women are both making completely rational decisions in response to a broken system. And those rational decisions are making everything progressively worse for everyone involved, without either side fully understanding why. Here is what the cycle looks like in practice. A man goes on 3 dates in a month, spends close to $400. None of them develop into anything. So he adjusts. Next time he suggests coffee instead of dinner. Keeps it simple, protects his budget, which is a reasonable thing to do. She receives the coffee invitation and reads it as low effort. She has had 4 other men that same week suggest the exact same thing. None of them planned anything. None of them seemed particularly invested. She passes on him. He sees another match go cold and pulls back even further. She sees another man not trying and raises her standards higher. He conserves because investing stopped paying off. She filters more aggressively because quality stopped showing up. Both of them are making sense individually. Together, they are creating a feedback loop that keeps tightening. He pulls back, she guards up. He pulls back further, she guards up higher. And at no point in that cycle does either of them stop to ask whether the problem is actually each other, or whether they are both symptoms of the same underlying dysfunction. The frustration women feel when men seem less present, less willing to plan, less invested in the early stages, that frustration is real and it deserves to be acknowledged. She is not imagining that something shifted. Something did shift. But the men who shifted didn't lose interest in women or in partnership. They lost confidence in a process that kept returning the same result. Exhaustion, not indifference, is what pulled them back. And exhaustion looks a lot like not caring from the outside, even when it has nothing to do with not caring at all. The mistake both sides keep making is treating each other's withdrawal as the cause of the problem, rather than recognizing it as a shared symptom of a system that stopped serving either of them well. What does a woman actually think about all of this? Let me be honest with you from my side of this dynamic, because I think the female perspective on this particular conversation is one that most men never actually get to hear. Not because women don't have thoughts about it, but because these thoughts don't fit neatly into the version of the narrative that is easiest to perform publicly. The reality is that women who are paying attention, who are genuinely self-aware and honest about what they observe in dating, understand more about what men are carrying than most men assume. A man who shows up to a date having driven 40 minutes, paid for dinner, and invested 3 hours of his evening into a conversation with someone he met on an app 3 days ago. That is not nothing. That is a real expenditure of real resources by a real person who is trying. And the cultural habit of treating that expenditure as simply what men do, as baseline expected behavior that requires no acknowledgement, that habit is something that more women need to be honest about questioning. Because here is what the financial pressure of modern dating actually does to a man that goes mostly undiscussed. It doesn't just drain his bank account. It gradually drains something harder to replenish than money. It drains his confidence in the process itself. A man can absorb rejection. Rejection is painful, but it is part of dating, and most men understand that. What is harder to absorb is the feeling of consistent expenditure with no return, of trying, genuinely trying, and watching the investment disappear without leaving anything behind. That feeling compounds over time in a way that eventually changes not just his behavior, but his fundamental belief in whether the whole thing is worth attempting at all. Women benefit from understanding that. Not to feel guilty about it. Guilt is not useful here. But to understand that the man who suggests coffee instead of a restaurant, or who takes longer to plan something, or who seems more measured in his early investment than men used to be, He is probably not lazy or uninterested. He is probably a man who did the math one too many times and decided to be more careful about where his energy goes. That is not a character flaw. That is a reasonable response to a genuinely unreasonable situation. So where this leaves men right now? After everything laid out in this video, the costs, the cultural mismatch, the broken app economy, the feedback loop trapping both sides, the quiet toll it takes on a man's confidence over time, the question worth sitting with is not, how do I fix the system? The system is not something any individual man or woman fixes alone. The question worth sitting with is, how do I pursue genuine connection without losing myself financially and emotionally in a process that was never designed with my well-being as the priority? And the answer starts with honesty. A man who looks at what modern dating actually costs, in money, in time, in emotional energy, and decides to approach it more deliberately, is not giving up on love. He is not becoming cold or closed off or bitter. He is applying the same basic intelligence to his dating life that he would apply to any other significant expenditure of his resources. He is asking whether what he is spending is proportionate to what he is getting back. And when the answer is no, he is adjusting, not quitting, adjusting. That looks like being more intentional about who he invests in before he invests heavily. It looks like suggesting lower stakes first meetings that allow both people to evaluate genuine compatibility before anyone has spent $100 finding out there isn't any. It looks like being honest with himself about which connections have real reciprocation and which ones are asking him to carry all the weight while she decides whether she's interested. It looks like refusing to let an app's monetization strategy convince him that his worth is tied to how much he's willing to spend on visibility. Men still want partnership. The desire for genuine connection did not disappear. What changed is the cost of the road that connection has to travel. And right now, that cost is not matching what most men can reasonably afford at the stage of life when dating is most culturally expected of them. Knowing that is not giving up. It is the beginning of approaching the whole thing with open eyes instead of inherited assumptions that stopped serving anyone a long time ago. Connection is still worth pursuing. Just pursue it on terms that make sense for where you actually are, not where the culture says you should be by now. If this video made you think, do one thing before you leave. Hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach the men who need to hear this most. Subscribe if you want more honest conversations like this one. And drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from and which part of this video hit closest to home for you. The comments on this one are going to be worth reading.